pay. All this he freely will perform, thy anger to allay. But if thy hate to him be more than his gifts may repress, yet pity all the other Greeks in such extreme distress, who with religion honor thee, and to their desperate ill shalt, and to their desperate thou shalt, and to honor thee, and to their desperate ill thou shalt triumphant glory, or thou mayst kill, and Hector thou triumphant glory, thou shalt triumph ill, thou shalt triumphant glory bring, and Hector bring. Triumphant glory bring, and Hector thou mayst kill, when pride, and Hector thou mayst kill, when pride makes him encounter, kill, when pride, kill, when pride makes him encounter thee, filled with a baneful sprite, who vaunts our whole sprite, who vaunts our Swift-foot Iacides replied, filled with a baneful sprite, who vaunts our whole fleet, who vaunts our whole baneful sprite, who vaunts our whole fleet, brought not one equal to him in fight. Swift-foot Iacides replied, Swift-foot Iacides, divine, not one equal to him in fight. Swift-foot Iacides replied, divine Laertes' son, 'tis requisite I should be short, and show what place hath won thy serious speech, affirming not but what you shall approve, established in my settled heart, that in the rest I move to murmur nor exception. In the rest I move no. The rest I move no murmur nor exception, for like hell mouth I loathe who holds not in his, like hell mouth I loathe who holds not in it, loathe who holds not. I loathe who holds not in his words and thoughts one indistinguished truth. What fits the freeness of my shall make displayed, nor fits the freeness of my mind, the freeness of my mind, freeness of my mind, my mind, of my mind, the freeness of my mind, my speech shall make displayed. Nor Atreus' son, nor all the Greeks shall win me to their aid. Their suit is wretchedly enforced to free their own despairs, and my life shall never, and my life never shall be hired with spares, and my life never shall be hired with thankless desperate prayers, for never had I benefit that ever foiled the foe, even share foiled the foe, foiled the foe, even share hath he that keeps his tent low, foiled the foe. Even share hath the foe, even foiled the foe. Even share hath he that keeps his tent, and he to field doth go. With equal honor cowards lie, and men most valiant, the much performer, and the man that can of nothing vaunt. No overplus I ever found, when with my mind's most strife to do them good, to dangerous fight I have exposed my life. But even as to unfeathered birds the careful dam brings meat. But even as to unfeathered birds, but even life. But even as to unfeathered birds the careful dam brings meat, which when she hath bestowed herself hath nothing left to eat. So when my broken sleeps have drawn the nights to extremest length, and ended many bloody days with still employed strength to guard their weakness and preserve, to guard their weakness, to guard their weakness and preserve their wives and preserve weakness and preserve their wives' contentness and weakness and preserve their wives' contents infract. I have been robbed before their eyes. 12 cities I have sacked, assailed by sea, 11 by land, while this siege held at Troy. And of all these, what was most dear and most might crown the joy of Agamemnon, he enjoyed, who here behind remained, which when he took, a few he gave, and many things retained. Siege held at Troy, other to Optimates and kings. I have sacked, assailed by sea, 11 by land, while this siege held at Troy. And of all these, what was most dear and most might crown the joy of Agamemnon, he enjoyed, who here behind remained, which when he took, a few he gave, and many things retained. Other to Optimates and kings he gave, who held them fast, yet mine he forceth. Only I sit with my loss, only I sit with my loss disgraced. But only I sit with only I sit with he forceth. Only I sit with my loss disgraced. But so he gain a lovely dame to be his, he gain a lovely dame, gain he gain a lovely dame to be his bed's delight. It is enough. For what cause else do Greeks and Trojans fight? Why brought he hither such an host? Was it not for a dame, for fair-haired Helen? And doth love alone the hearts inflame of the and doth love fair-haired Helen, for fair-haired Helen? And doth love alone the hearts inflame of the Atrides to their wives, of all the men that move? Every discreet and honest mind cares for his private love as much as they. As I myself loved Briseis as my life, although my captive, and had will to take her for my wife, whom since he forced, preventing me. In vain he shall prolong hopes to appease me. In vain he shall prolong. In vain he shall prolong hopes to appease. Preventing me. In vain he shall prolong hopes to appease me, that know well the deepness of my wrong. But, good Ulysses, with thyself and all you other kings, let him take stomach to repel Troy's fire. Achates replied, Divine Laertes' son, 'tis requisite I should be short, and show what place hath won thy serious threat. Let him take stomach to repel Troy's fiery threat. All you other kings, let him take stomach. Other kings, let him take. And all you other kings, let him take stomach to repel Troy's fiery threatenings. Much hath he done without my help, built him a goodly fort, cut a dike by it, pitched with pales, broad and cannot all cut a dike by it, cut a dike by it, pitched fort, cut a dike by it, pitched with pales, broad and of deep import. Broad and of deep import. Broad. Pitched with pales, broad and of deep import. Pales, broad and of deep import. And cannot all these helps repress this kill man Hector's fright? This kill man Hector's fright, when I was armed among the Greeks, he would not offer fight without the shadow of his not offer fight. He would not offer fight without the shadow of his walls, but to the Scian ports or to the holy beach of Jove came backed with his consorts. Backed with his beach of Jove came backed with his consorts, where once he stood my charge alone, and once he stood my charge alone, and hardly made retreat. And to make new proof of our powers, the doubt is not so. And to make tomorrow then, we'll make new proof of and to make new proof of our powers, the doubt is not so great. Tomorrow, great. Tomorrow then, with sacrifice performed to imperial Jove and all the gods, I'll launch my fleet and all my men remove, which if thou wilt use all my men remove, which if thou wilt or thinkst it worth, which if thou wilt use, men remove, which if thou wilt use so thy sight, or think it worth, or thinkst it worth thy sight, or think it worth thy sight, or thinkst it worth respect, in forehead of the morn, thine eyes shall see, with sails erect, eyes shall see, erect, amidst the fishy eyes shall see, with eyes shall see, with sails erect, amidst the fishy Hellespont, helped with laborious oars. And if the sea gods send free sail, the fruitful Phthyian shores, within 3 days we shall attain. Prize, left pain, where I have store of prize left when with prejudice I attain. We shall attain, where I have store of prize left. I have store of prize left when with prejudice I left. I have store of prize left when with prejudice I came to these indignities. There have I gold as well as here, and store of ruddy brass, dames slender, elegantly girt, and steel as bright as glass. These will I take as I retire, as shares I firmly save, though Agamemnon be so brave. I retire, as shares I firmly save. Agamemnon be firmly save. I firmly save, though Agamemnon be so base to take the gifts he gave. Though Agamemnon be so base to take the gifts he gave. To take, be so base to take the gifts he gave. Tell him all this, and openly, I on your honors charge, that others may take shame to hear his lust's command so large. And if there yet remain a man he hopeth to deceive, being died in endless deceive, being dyed in endless impudence, that man, but alas, that man may learn to leave his trust and empire. But alas, though like a wolf, his trust and empire. But alas, though like a wolf he be, shameless and rude, he durst not take my prize and look on me. Shameless and rude, he durst, shameless and rude, he like a wolf he be, shameless and rude, he durst not take my prize and look on me. He durst not take my prize and look on me. I never and look on me. And rude, he durst not take my prize and look on me. I never will partake his works, nor counsels as before. He once deceived and injured me, and he shall never more tie my affections with his words. Enough is the increase of one success in his deceits, which let him joy in peace, and bear it to a wretched end. Wretched end. A wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I, as my foes, disdain. And these his gifts I, as my foes, even in the numbness of gifts, I, and these wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I, as my foes, disdain. Even in the numbness of calm death, his gifts I, as my foes, disdain. Even in the numbness of calm death, Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I as my foes disdain. Plagues, and these wise Jove to a wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain. Wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I as my to a wretched end. Wise Jove hath reft his brain to bring him plagues, and these his gifts I as my foes disdain. Even in the numbness of calm death I will revengeful be, though 10 or 20 times so much he would bestow on me. All he hath here or anywhere would bestow on me. All he bestow on me. He would bestow on me. All he hath here or 20 times so much he would bestow on me. All he hath here or anywhere, or Orchomen contains, to which men bring their health for strength, or all the store remains in circuit of Egyptian Thebes, where much hid treasure lies, whose walls contain 100 ports of so admired a size 200 soldiers may affront with horse and chariots pass. Nor would he amplify all this like sand or dust or grass. Chariots pass. With horse and chariots pass. Nor would he amplify for all the pains that with his nor would he amplify soldiers may affront with horse and chariots pass. Nor would he amplify all this like sand or dust or grass, should he reclaim me, till his reek paid, or grass, should he reclaim me. Should he like sand or dust or grass, should he reclaim me, till this reek paid me for all the pains that with his contumely, for all the pains that paid me for all the pain for all the pains that with his contumely burned like for all the pains that for all the pains that paid me for all the pains that with his contumely burned like poison in my veins. Nor shall his daughters in my veins. Nor shall his daughter be my wife, although she might contend. Nor shall his daughter be my wife, although she might contend veins. Nor shall his daughter be my wife, although she might contend with golden Venus for her form, or if she let him a Greek select, fit for unimpeached life, a wife, although she his daughter be my wife, although she might contend with golden Venus for her form, or if she did transcend blue-eyed Minerva for her works. Let him a Greek select, fit for her, and let him a Greek select her works. Let him a Greek select Minerva for her works. Let him a Greek select, fit for her, and a greater king. For if the gods protect and send blue-eyed Minerva for her works, let him a Greek select, fit for her, and a greater king. For if the gods protect my safety to my father's court, he shall choose me a wife. Many fair archive princesses, unimpeached life in Heli, fair archive princesses of unimpeached life in Heli, impeached life. Of unimpeached life in Heli and Imthia my will, and in Heli and Imthia live, who and Imthia live, whose sires do sin, whose sires do, and Imthia live, whose sires do cities hold, of whom I can have whom I will, and more and I will. Can have whom I will, and more and hundredfold my true mind in my country likes to take a lawful wife than in another nation, and there delight my life with these goods that my another nation, and other nation, and there in another nation, and there delight my life with those goods that my father got, much rather than die here. Much rather than die, not all the, much rather got, much rather than die here. Not all the wealth of not all than die here. Not all the wealth of well-built Troy, possessed when peace was there, all that Apollo's marble fane in stony Pythos holds, I value equal with the life that my free breast enfolds. Sheep, oxen, tripods, ox. Sheep, oxen, tripods, crest-decked horse, though lost, may come a crest-decked horse, though lost horse. Crest-decked horse, though lost, may come again. But when the white guard of our teeth no longer can contain our human soul, away it flies, and once gone, nevermore to her frail mansion, nevermore to her frail mansion. Any man can frail mansion, her frail mansion, any man can her lost powers restore. And therefore, since my mother queen, famed for her silver feet, told me two fates about my death in my direction meet,